Hi, I would like to go against what we all know that I believe, because I believe Bigfoot exists, but I also know as a teacher I need to help those who don't who haven't seen the light like me before. And so this video is going to show non-believers how you can get a perfect score on the math part of your presentation on Friday. So here would be an exemplary I was going to say example. So here's an exemplary example for a non-believer to get full credit on their math. You can use this as an idea, and then if you still need help on how you can use your data to prove that Bigfoot does not exist, please come see me. Okay, so here we go. Hi, I would like to show you through data that Bigfoot does not exist in the state that I made up, New Bernston. Okay, Bigfoot does not exist in this state. How I came to this conclusion mathematically is I looked at the BFRO website and I collected all of the data that they had for New Bernston. And when I collected that data, I came up with this table that in 1990 or below, because this was just kind of our chunk from the beginning, there were 16 sightings of Bigfoot. From 1990 all the way from the beginning of them collecting data. So there's only 16 different sightings. And then in 1991, there were 2, and so on and so forth, to where in 2020, so far, there has been 1 sighting. Now, once I collected that data, I made a scatter plot. And this scatter plot is right here, and you'll see the different points, the 1990 points way up here, and you'll see all of the other data that was collected. The line that runs through it is called the line of best fit. And based on all of the data, this line best represents the Bigfoot sightings that the BFRO had for my made-up state of New Bernston. And so you will see that you could use this graph to make predictions to say there was 1 sighting in 2020, and then there would be 1 sighting in 2021. But don't you think it's just a little odd that this whole big state that I have researched and only this few people saw Bigfoot? So these guys saw something else. They thought they saw they heard some ruffles in the leaves, and they saw something. It was probably just a raccoon or something. So they didn't really see Bigfoot. If there were Bigfoot around, there would be so many more sightings than the few that you're seeing right here. So even if he did exist here, why would the sightings be going down? When I think about when I'm thinking about this, sightings should be increasing, because Bigfoot, unless he really is just this one person walking around the United States like Santa Claus, there's probably more than one Bigfoot. And so wouldn't the population be increasing? When we did our species bio in science, like we saw the population, or we talked about how the population would have to increase based if there has to be boy Bigfoots and girl Bigfoots, right? So since the population is going down in my state, I would say Bigfoot does not exist. Also, if you check this out, in the year that there were bigger spikes, it's probably because the movie or the TV show Finding Bigfoot was more popular. Or maybe this is the year that Smallfoot came out in theater, and so people started thinking about Bigfoot more again. And so when people start thinking about Bigfoot, it's easier to find Bigfoot. And so there are cultural reasons why data was too high for that year. So looking at what year Finding Bigfoot was famous and what year Smallfoot came out, it totally would explain why the data points are up here. So, and again, I'm going to go with from the beginning of people being able to collect data, there were only 16 from all of that time until now. And so wouldn't there be more than 16 sightings in this whole state? So I'm going to be able to use this data to go ahead and say that Bigfoot does not exist. I could even use this equation here that I came up with Desmos came up with my M and my B. So all I had to do was write them out into the equation, y equals negative 0.06 x, because that was my slope, plus 125.86 was my B. And so ever since then, it's been going down. And so whether you use the equation to predict or you use your graph to predict, Bigfoot does not exist in this state. So that's my conclusion. You can look at the math data. You can see that unless Bigfoot is just a single guy roaming around, there would be more than one, and therefore population would be growing if there's a boy Bigfoot and a girl Bigfoot. And so there should be more sightings and it should go up exponentially. There should be more, like, these people saw other things besides Bigfoot when they were looking. Like if the leaves are, like if it's in summer and the leaves are all full, you could see anything. You could see a squirrel or a raccoon and not know what you see when it's dusk outside. And then finally, the reason why it spiked these couple years is all culture based. It's because people started being more interested by watching TV shows and movies. So therefore, there's my math data. Bigfoot does not exist in my state of New Bernstein. Okay, so that, I kind of rambled, so you would want to hone in your thoughts a little more. I was just kind of making things up as I went. So make sure you fine tune them, but you should be able to pull 2 or 3 pieces of information from your graph or table or equation. And I do want to see all 3 of them. And I want to make sure that you come to logical conclusions, even though I don't really think those conclusions were very logical. They would be acceptable. I'm not going to judge you based on the fact that I am a believer and you're not a believer. I can be very respectful of the way you see this Bigfoot argument. I hope I've made that clear in class. And so you need to have logical arguments. You need to be able to explain how you got to them. So you'll notice how I talked about collecting the data to make the scatter plot, to then come up with the equation. So I want to hear you talk about those things. Basically, you're walking through your prediction packet. And then, yeah, so you explain how you did it. Use correct math and definitions. Make sure your math is correct. I would love to help before then. As you are finishing your prediction packet, I'm giving feedback, and so it should be accurate. And I do want to see your equation, your table, and your graph all in your presentation on Friday. Please, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.